Hello and welcome back to another episode of Ball Around the Head. We are about a week and a couple days away from, in my opinion, the best time of the year, which is trade deadline season, where the rumors come, the trades come, and it's just so much fun. I love that season. The rumors, everything. I get happy thinking about it. So one of the biggest rumors, I believe, right when the NBA started on Wednesday, when the Mavericks and Spurs played a couple hours prior to tip-off, Greg Popovich said that LaMarcus Aldridge and the Spurs have agreed to part ways. And people are like, oh, they're going to buy him out and he's going to sign with the Nets or the Lakers, blah, blah, blah. But they're fairly confident that their Spurs are going to find a trade. So, Ben, I'm going to ask you, who's going to trade for LaMarcus Aldridge?
I have as the best destination your Boston Celtics. I think a piece. They need more scoring in the front court. I mean, who gets front court minutes for you guys? Like Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice?
Robert Williams. He's played great today.
Okay, well, I think, you need someone going back to those Al Horford days. Someone like that. Not going to play that much, but if you don't have to give up that much, I think it'd be a good fit.
Okay. Andrew?
I'm going to say his first team, the Portland Trailblazers. I feel like he can make a return to the Trailblazers, and it would be really well because they need kind of what Ben said, like a front court scorer. And his Cantor, if that's one of your top front court players, like you're down bad. And the Portland Trailblazers lost to Minnesota today. A very close game, so they're gonna need get a good player in the paint. So yeah, I think I love players making a return back to their team.
Yeah, that was a team that I saw floated around quite a bit. Just a good story, and people were wondering, what if LaMarcus stayed all those years? Would the Blazers have been close to a championship? That's a pretty good what if right there. For Ben's point, real quick, I would absolutely cry if the Celtics traded for LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, he's 35 years old. He's a shell of his old self. He's not putting up 20 points per game anymore. He's just decent. He's going to help a team big time. Like you said, he can score, but he cannot defend. And that's kind of it. And the Celtics would have to trade for him with their trade exception, which I'm sure a lot of Celtics fans would prefer not to do. There's talks about Harrison Barnes or whatnot. But I'm just saying, if that happens, and it could happen because they have been linked to him, I'd be pretty upset. But for me, the one team I've been hearing quite a bit is the Heat. Although, to be fair, the Heat have been linked to, I think, literally every single trade candidate. If you go on any ESPN, Bleacher Report, Twitter, every single time you'll see, refresh your page, the Heat are interested in Kyle Lowry, LaMarcus Aldridge, Ben McLemore,
Russell Westbrook.
All these people, and it's just
Kyle Lowry.
Cool. It's insane. So they've been linked, and a package around like probably Kelly Olynyk and Andre Iguodala has been floated around, and probably would happen if a trade were to occur. And another team that I think is interesting that's not talked about as much is the Dallas Mavericks. They can swap like a James Johnson, who really isn't doing that much, and he's getting paid quite a bit, and then switch them and give Luka another option on offense. He won't help them defensively, but Luka needs help on offense, and Porzingis hasn't been able to play every single game. So a Porzingis-Aldridge front court could score you a lot of baskets. Maybe not the best defense, though, which, I mean, it seems like a lot of NBA teams kind of don't really care. Just look at the Brooklyn Nets. They play decent enough defense to win games if their offense is clicking. So it's interesting that I saw that they're going to trade him, and he wasn't going to get bought out. Because, like, I didn't think that a lot of teams would be interested in him, but it sounds like a trade should happen, I believe, next week. It's what it sounds like. So, yeah. You guys have anything else to add about it?
He can change his jersey number, hopefully.
This guy has been wanted by quite a bit of teams, and especially the contenders, mainly the contenders, the Nets, Lakers, Clippers, Bucks. You hear all those teams that are on the top that want him, and it's PJ Tucker, who has had a pretty off year for the Houston Rockets, who are abysmal right now. They've lost 16 straight games. They have no direction right now. I don't know what's happening there. Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing pretty good, though. So PJ Tucker was another person who they sat out and said, all right, we'll trade you or we'll release you if we can't find a trade. So, again, I'm going to ask you, Andrew, which team is the best fit for PJ Tucker?
I really want him to go to the Lakers, but I don't think it's the best fit. So, in answering the question, I feel like the Suns would be a really good fit for PJ Tucker, especially because the Suns are an underrated come-up team, and I like to get their name out there. Jay Crowder, I love Jay Crowder, but I feel like they can flip him. But they would probably want him for the postseason because he's such a great player. And there's three-point shooting on the Suns, like Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Jay Crowder can hit it from the corner. Adding PJ Tucker, getting that efficient corner three shot that he I would say that PJ Tucker is probably the most efficient corner shooter in the league almost. That'd be really helpful for the Suns. So I think if the Suns were going to be a dark horse playoff team, they would need PJ Tucker.
Yeah, to that point, though, he's been one of the best corner three-point shooters the past couple of years, but this year it just hasn't been clicking for him. Ben, who do you have?
I have the Lakers, and I'm going to disagree with you, Andrew. I think he'd be a great fit in LA. I mean, who fits better with LeBron than someone who can knock down the corner three and play defense? That's all you need from him. The Lakers could ship off Taylor Horton-Tucker. He's a nice young piece. What's that expression?
Wow, getting rid of THT?
What's he doing right now?
He's balling up. He's the heart and soul of the bench. I feel like he's like a top 7 player on the team, especially. Kuzma's been playing really well.
The reported asking price for PJ Tucker is a young player. They're not asking for a second-round pick and some scrubs. So Horton Tucker would make sense, but it'd be interesting to see if the Lakers would want to actually do that.
I think it'd be a great fit.
All right. The way this
question
is worded, I think the best fit would be Brooklyn. They're basically running the Harden Rockets offense, but with Kyrie and KD, which is obviously way more dangerous than the other one. And Tucker, he wouldn't be just the starting center, but he could come off the bench way better fit than Blake Griffin, which I'm still stunned they signed him. But they are going to trade him and not release him. And the Nets, I don't think, have enough to make a trade happen. So I'm going to agree with Ben and say the Lakers. I think that that's a perfect fit. And they've been linked to a lot of players recently, most notably Andre Drummond, who they're saying if he was bought out, it looks like he's going to the Lakers. But I think Tucker is a perfect fit, great defensive player. He's a little up there in age, and obviously he's not as effective as it used to be. But again, Ben said he can hit the quarter shot very well. He has shown in the past, not this year, but if LeBron's giving you open looks, your shooting percentage is going to go up. And he's just a beast. I'm a huge fan of him. I love his game. He's just a beast down low. So
he's a 6'4" player who can guard centers.
Exactly.
But he was a center for the Rockets.
One thing that's interesting, and I like how Andrew brought up the Suns, it's because they said they're not going to release him. So as much as these contending teams want PJ Tucker, there could be a team that's in the middle of the pack that just have the assets to trade. Because technically, the Rockets can make the trade for who they want and what they want, not where Tucker wants to go. Tucker's not a Houston legend where he can demand where to go like Harden. He is going to get traded to wherever the Rockets find the best package. So the Suns, I think that's where he started his career, I think, or he played a good portion of it there. So that'd be a very interesting fit. I didn't think about
who, by the way, you mentioned Houston legend. The James Harden is getting his jersey retired by the Rockets. The man who, I don't know, I guess he won an MVP there, but he also bashed the entire city of Houston, or maybe not the city of Houston, but the team Houston, we're not enough. I just think it's interesting. I love seeing players get their jersey retired, though.
It was kind of a short stint for someone to get their jersey retired. He is kind of a Houston legend in terms of he had his best years there, his MVP years, but
MVP.
It's the years surrounding that, but it feels short to get a jersey retired to me.
You could definitely make an argument 2 and 4. I talked with my brother about it, you could easily make an argument why he shouldn't, but also he put Houston on the map. That was one of the best trades in the NBA for the past couple of years. And like you said, he's been an MVP candidate for each of the past 5 years or whatnot, and he's won one of them. So you can see why they would retire it. but also like he really truly didn't accomplish anything there. He made a conference finals, maybe two. I think he made 2 conference finals, but never an NBA finals, and obviously never won a championship. Okay. So next up, speaking of James Harden, actually, good transition here. There's been some talks that he should be in the MVP conversation. He's not putting up the most stats on most categories except for assist, but he's still putting up decent stats. And people are saying the Nets are winning, and maybe he should be in the conversation. Ben, do you think he should be in the MVP conversation?
I would not put him in the conversation. I mean, I understand the argument. You know, the Nets started winning when he arrived, but I mean, his scoring is way down from previous years. And I feel like Kyrie's doing just as much as him to help that team win. I mean, there's so many other guys who deserve to be in that conversation, like Curry and Lillard and Embiid. Like, I just don't think he's up there. You can really put him in that same tier.
Andrew?
I mean, you can put him in the conversation like we just did now, but will he win it? Probably not, because I agree with what Ben said about Kyrie. Like, Kyrie dropped 40 the other day, kind of carried the Nets. So I just think James Harden isn't like a standout MVP performer. But, I mean, the conversation, I put him top 3 maybe. Him, LeBron, and Embiid. Lillard and Curry are close, but I feel like the Warriors are kind of really low on the conference to have an MVP in their, conversation. And it is true that the Nets have, they're now tied with the 76ers as far as record-wise in the East. So it's true that Harden directly impacted the Nets season, especially with KD out. But I wouldn't say he's going to win it. But I put him in the conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he should be in the conversation, but again, I probably wouldn't put him top 3. But you could, like you said, when he got over there, it was a little iffy. They were around 500, and then now they're just dominating. They won like 12 of their last 13 games or something like that. KD's been out for most of them, and Harden's putting up insane numbers. To Ben's point, Kyrie Irving is having a very, very, very good season that not a lot of people are talking about. So yeah, he could be in the conversation, but I definitely wouldn't pick him to be my MVP. Like you said, Embiid has proven it, LeBron, Jokic, all those players. Like you said, though, I like that point of Curry is he's playing great, but his team is not producing that well. And Draymond Green himself said that he and Curry will start being in the defensive player and MVP conversations respectively once the Warriors start winning. Because right now they don't deserve it because, I mean, their play is not impacting winning. So, yeah, I like that point both you guys made. So normally we talk about the top of the standings and all the good teams and all the Lakers, Nets, all those teams, but let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about the bottom of the standings for each of the conferences. We got the Timberwolves and the Pistons. I'm going to ask straight ahead, Andrew, who has the brighter future?
Minnesota Timberwolves. Not the brighter future as far as ownership because Kevin Garnett, unfortunately, is not in the conversation to own the Timberwolves anymore or to become a minority owner. But I do think that the Timberwolves have a huge future with Anthony Edwards. Like, he's amazing. He's definitely top 2 rookie right now, LaMelo Ball being the first. And the Pistons are kind of down bad. Like, you can't have, the saying, you can't have XSplit in Detroit. Like, you really can't. Like, the Pistons are bottom of the East. Bottom of the East. Not much future ahead of them. They already won a couple championships, so their franchise is like, what's the likelihood you're going to win another one? You're down bad. You're down bad, Pistons.
All right, Ben.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say the Pistons. I mean, the Timberwolves on paper they look so much better than the Pistons, but it's been enough times where I'm like, the T-Wolves are going to be better this year, and then they're not, that I'm just starting to say to myself, maybe Cat and D'Angelo Russell are not as good as we thought. Like, maybe they're just not that good.
They've only played 1 year.
What was that?
They've only played 1 year together.
Well, Cat's been there for a long time, and, people thought he was a center picked to build your entire team around, and yet he's not shown any winning. Like, I don't think he's getting better. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't believe he's going to get better. And the Pistons, I mean, they're not great right now, but they do have some nice young pieces, like Jeremy Grant, leading contender for most improved player. Josh Jackson's playing well. Dennis Smith Jr., Sadiq Bey, the rookie. They have some young talent, and so I'd pick the Pistons slightly over them. I mean, the T-Wolves, none of us had them with the worst record in the league
True.
this year. They just keep on underperforming.
Yeah, especially considering they owe their pick if it's outside the top 3 to Golden State. A lot of people thought they'd at least be a little bit better, and they're not. And to your point about Karl Anthony Towns, there's been a lot of not official reports or rumors, but like there's some rumblings that maybe soon he's going to ask out of Minnesota because he is 25 and they have not accomplished anything except for one playoff win in his entire tenure there. And that was with Jimmy Butler, who didn't even like him and wanted to leave immediately after playing with him. So I'm going to pick the Pistons as well because I was a huge fan of Killian Hayes on draft night, and unfortunately he had a season-ending hip injury, so he hasn't really played since like the first week of the season or something like that. But they have a top pick potentially coming up. They don't owe it to anybody. Like you said, Josh Jackson was a complete gamble. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, and it did. It was a great gamble right there. They just traded for Hamidou Diallo from the OKC Thunder, which was an extremely good trade for Pistons because they basically give up a shooter. No disrespect to Mihailuk, but a shooter and what was it? The Pistons gave up a shooter and some people said a sixth grader right now, basically a 2027 second round pick for a guy who's played very well. And I think that's a good step. It's a guy they're probably going to pay this offseason that they're saying they're going to pay. So I think they have the pieces. Jeremy Grant's only 26. He still has a couple more years on his deal. So I don't think they're going to be playoff contenders immediately, but I think that they have the right path, in my opinion. I think they're going the right way. The Timberwolves, too, it just seems like they've got to start making results quick because it's starting to run out of time with Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo. So,
a side note on that, I saw that trade, and I've never seen, like, I didn't even know you could trade picks that far in advance. Like, I've never seen
I want to say it's an 8-year gap or a 7-year gap you could trade picks, I think. I think it's 7. But it might be, I don't know. But yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a pick
on Twitter saying they literally trade the dude for a sixth grader right now. Like that's what it is. So the analyst on the very right of the screen said last week for his bold prediction that the Hornets will win a playoff series. Me and Ben laughed it off. But since then, the Hornets have had a couple impressive wins. And as we speak right now, they are a game out of 4th place in the entire Eastern Conference, which is insane to think about. So, Ben, me and you are the ones who kind of laughed it off. Should we start taking the Hornets more seriously?
I mean, they could do some damage, but I'm not quite taking them too seriously yet. Like, I don't think they have much of a chance to win a playoff series. They have been playing better recently, but their wins, they're not that impressive. Their last 3 wins were over the Kings, the Pistons, and the Raptors. Their net rating on the year is just under 0, and in their last 10 games, it's just under 0. So I don't think they're as hot as they might seem. LaMelo Ball has been, taking strides, and he's, I think, the runaway favorite for Rookie of the Year, and I think he's a great player and is going to be a great player, and we should all, respect him and stuff like that. But the Hornets as a whole, I'm not that convinced. Like, they're better than we thought going into the year, but I don't think they're going to win a playoff series. Yeah.
All right, Andrew, I saw you shake your head. What do you got?
I feel like the only way the Hornets don't win the playoff series is if they go against the Bucks in the first round. Like, the Bucks will destroy the Hornets. I think, the Bucks, the 76ers, and the Nets, I don't think there's a chance. But the Heat and the Celtics, I'm telling you, if the Hornets finish 4 or 5, and the Heat or Celtics finish 4 or 5 with them, they can make it to the next round. Like, no disrespect to the Celtics or the Heat, but the Hornets are just a pretty good team. Gordon Hayward, like he's kind of fallen off in the beginning of the year, but they have that numbers. Mikal Bridges, I think his name is right. Wow. Number 0. Him and LaMelo have a great connection. I've seen a bunch of rumors floating around that Lonzo Ball to the Hornets will win a championship, and it's like, well, that's obviously like LeVar knew it the whole time, but and also the Hornets got that Hennessy deal, so they're on the come up. You guys should start taking the Hornets seriously. I myself just got a LaMelo Ball jersey, so I'm not a bandwagon. You know what I mean? I'm a fan.
It's a trick question for me because they're definitely not Eastern Conference elites. Like you said, they're not going to beat the Nets. They're not going to beat the Sixers. They're not going to beat the Bucks. I don't think there's a chance. Maybe they could steal one from the Bucks, but the rest, I don't think there's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they could win a couple games, as in 2, not really more than 2 in the first round. But I still don't see them winning a first round series unless they match up against like the Knicks, if they somehow get lucky and get a 4 or 5 seed there, because the 4 through, 10 seed is just a complete mess. A win, loss, you go from 4 to 6, and then all this stuff. It's crazy. So, I mean, there is a slight chance that the Knicks and the Hornets could play. I probably wouldn't bet on it. But as you said, the Hornets have, 7 people averaging double figures and 8 people averaging 9.7 or more, which is kind of insane to me. They're playing great. LaMelo Ball is the leader for Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. So I don't think they're going to win a playoff series, but I think they could win a couple games. So, yeah.
That's kind of going off right now.
Whatever. So last thing to leave it off on, since it is March and the March Madness bracket was announced today, we're going to give our predictions on March Madness. I want it to be noted, though, we are not professionals on college basketball. We don't watch it a lot. We kind of just watch it now and then.
I don't think I can name 3 teams. I'm going to be honest.
Since it is March, though, we're to give our predictions. So, Andrew, who do you have winning March Madness?
The Michigan Spartans, right? That's it.
I think you mixed those up.
The Michigan.
That's the Wolverines, my dude.
Oh, I have some sort of poster in my brother's room. It's in my brother's room, and it's a poster, or it's a little like newspaper clipping from when Michigan won a couple centuries ago. I thought they were the Spartans. Maybe they're the Trojans. Michigan Trojans.
Michigan State is the Spartans. Michigan is the.
Are they not the ones that are in the March Madness picture?
Michigan State is in it. Both of them are, but Michigan
State. Michigan State.
Okay. Ben, what you got?
Yeah, I was just filling out a bracket today, and I just picked, I don't know. I just picked Gonzaga, so I'm going to say Gonzaga. But I have not watched a college basketball game this year, so I'm not sure why we're doing this. But yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I'm with you. I'm not going to go into full detail. Gonzaga, I have them too. They're undefeated on the season, and some analysts thought they could go all the way. So I'm going to say the same thing. I haven't really watched, especially without the fans, it's not really fun to watch college basketball this year. But, I mean, Sparks Madness, there's buzzer beaters, upsets, and those are always fun to watch. So I suggest if you guys are basketball fans or not even basketball fans to watch that. So thank you guys so much for your support on the podcast. And if you don't listen to our podcast, please do on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back next Sunday, exact same time. And until then, peace.
Lakers in back to back.